So adding right to that are the 4 nutriments. So what are we ingesting? And that's just not food, it's everything that we're taking in. When Venerable Manyi taught this 4 or 5 years ago the first time, I look at Greg because I think you were in the class at the same time, and I went, what? Being a nurse, nutriments? What you talking about? And then I went home and I read it again, I went, oh. So what are you watching on TV? What are you reading? This is all fuel. This is all adding to us. And you know, I do not go and watch horror movies. I just don't. They upset me. And it's terrible if I was to watch something on TV, and I don't know if this has happened to you or gone to a movie that has kept you up all night thinking about. Oh, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm too old. I need my sleep. Please. But think about it. It happens. So being aware and being mindful of what's arising and where it's coming from, what's fueling your thoughts, your feelings. How are you spending your time? Now, I'm not going to beat you up now watching TV. I mean, everybody has a right to veg out every now and again, and that's good. If that's your retreat, that's good. Call it what it is, and don't be guilty about it. I was mentioning before you came down for meditation, when I first started taking these classes and hearing about the nutriments, I stopped listening to the radio and listening to tunes on the radio. Now I listen to the radio, but I've often equated things to a pendulum swinging. The pendulums come back and I listen to the radio, but I monitor what I'm taking in, because if it upsets me, unless it spurs me on to do something good, if there's an injustice going on. A little different. Maybe it's something that, and this is what I used to do, I'd listen to chanting, or I'd listen to maybe a teaching from one of the Venerables. That was a good source. That made me feel a whole lot different by the end of my trip than getting upset about something or listening to, I mean, I can be in a car, and I'm sure you all have been there at a stop sign, and you can hear the guy's music beside you. You can feel the beat of the whole car shaking. I mean, if that turns your crank, that's fine. But truly and seriously, not only do you examine your feelings, which we agree most of the time, especially, I don't know about guys, because I'm not a guy in this lifetime. Probably was in another one. But as a woman, I beat up myself a lot. Too fat, too skinny, God is it. Oh my. You know, on and on and on. It's so hard. So moving down further on our handout here, there's mentioning 3 types of cravings. And after we've looked at the 18 realms and the 5 skandhas, we start to, and look at the fact that we think we are this separate self, rather than, as my good buddy Martin said, really a process. We look at the 3 cravings, and the first one is, of course, for sense pleasures. We get that. We like that cake. Oh yeah, I like that cigarette. I would like those occasional cigarettes that I would have when I'd sit down after a turkey dinner and have that cigarette with my coffee to relax. But all those other cigarettes that I had, forget that. But we have this sensual craving based on our senses to sensuality and sensual pleasures. Anything, I think, like Greg was talking about and Martin were talking about, to make us happy and make us bliss out. Oh yeah, I like that. By the way, I don't really get off on chocolate cake. I like cookies. And people have been coming here, I admitted that before, but chocolate cake, a lot of people do. They like chocolate. So just to recap, craving for the sense organs. When we come into contact with the objects, through sights and sounds and smells and taste. They contribute to our sensory perceptions, the pleasant feelings. Oh yeah. Can also lead to desire for wealth and power, and we see people like that. Or attachment. This is my idea, yours is wrong. Or views or opinions or theories, beliefs. Hey, you can see people get into wars over things like this. Mine's right, yours is wrong, you're different. Wrong. The next craving is existence. In Buddhism, we talk about becoming. We're going to be covering this on the 12 links in next semester. Becoming is a link. To be reborn. But this is expressed in Buddhism as deluded clinging to a sense of existence. To, again, the selfhood. Or to things or people. We cling to things. This is my beautiful sports car. It's black, it's sleek, it's shiny, and I've waited a lifetime to get it. Or people. We cling to people because we think that they're going to give us happiness or make us happy. Or, as I used the example last time, unhappy. So we take perverse pleasure sometimes. Or craving for an experience. Or craving for anything or something. Or how about a past experience? When I was preparing this, I thought of my mother. My mother was happiest when she was 15 and 16. She grew up here in Toronto. And she would dance at the Palais Royal, Casa Loma. And as she got older, she remembered all those wonderful times. And she lived in the past. A lot of seniors do. They go back to a happier time. Nothing wrong with that, in my humble opinion, as you age. She wasn't a Buddhist. But if it made her happy, fine. That's the way I look at it. Now, if I had been a Buddhist, I might have been able to direct things different for her, with a different understanding and different views I have. But I want you to know that the desire for life is born in your body. You see a brand new baby. For the ladies and the gentlemen who have been there at the birth of a child, it's a marvelous thing. And you see that child, the first breath. That is very painful. There is an opening between the two ventricles and the heart that closes at the moment of the first breath. As the lungs expand at such force, taking that breath in, that opening between the two ventricles closes. And if it doesn't, then they have to have surgery because you've got the mixing of the oxygenated and unoxygenated blood. That's how painful that is. And when you see the birth, and I've seen many births of babies, being a nurse, and it's a joyous time. But when we're born, there's a level of a homeostatic nature, a balance in the body. There's also a hormonal level. Now the baby's hormones aren't cranked up and going, but the mother's hormones are still affecting the baby. And there's also the reflexive nature. These three elements are primal at birth. With a newborn baby, we take the baby and we check their reflexes. We call them the moral reflexes. And that gives you a number, an APGAR number, out of 5. 5 out of 5 is a really healthy baby with really good startle reflexes and all these moral reflexes. So that's born with us. So right away, give yourself a break. Stop beating yourself up about desiring life and clinging to life. It's born with us. But at a more subtle level, there's the ego. The ego, and I see it with my 18-month-old granddaughter beating up her 5-year-old brother. Oh, dear. The ego trying to establish itself. And Anne, I'm sure she sees with her grandchildren. Just the mix and the dramas, much more than you did with your own kids, I bet. Yeah, yeah. They want to prevail and dominate. I see this 18-month-old dominating her 5-year-old brother. Oh dear, poor guy. He's such a sweetheart. He's a gentle giant. And he just takes it all. What a good little man he is. He's being well conditioned for life. So our ego we see being selfish. And an 18-month-old, yeah, she doesn't share worth a darn. I take her to groups, the children place, and she doesn't share anything at all. And anybody tries to go into her domain, she yells and screams, holy Dia. She's not going to be a good parable too, I can see that. So this craving to be something is a reflex. And I really want to stress that. So this is inherent in us. This is born in us. Sorry. This is born in us. So it's tough when we're looking at suffering. And we want this stuff, and I think it was Greg, or maybe Martin said, it's only momentary. It's only a quick fix. Because we're looking back for that inner balance that we're born with, the homeostatic balance. And you know that the sad thing is, it's there in us. Our Buddha nature is there in us, and we just simply don't see it. Now, the last one is really hard for Western people to get. And I say that it's because the way I think that we've been really raised and programmed to think, because we're inundated. And it's the thirst for non-existence or self-annihilation. There's an erroneous view here that the 5 aggregates. Yeah, our hands are going to go up here. I can just feel it. I was debating whether I should say this or not. I'm still debating. That they constitute a soul. That is more or less annihilated at death. Oh, yes, I'm looking at people here. I'm not attacking any religious form. I'm just saying from a Buddhist view, you're giving me a chance to say this, thank goodness, that we are reborn. Yeah. I thought maybe I'd wake people up that were sleeping by saying that, or get confidence going. We believe that we're reborn, that the consciousness, the karma seeds are never annihilated. They live on and on and on. Like we think from a Christian perspective, and I was born into a Christian family. We die and our soul lives on and we go up to Jesus and the body is gone. And that's it. It's gone. But as Buddhists, it keeps coming back. I can see a thought coming here. Go for it.
I must give cues. Anyway,
it's just that I think there must have been something in the past, my good friend.
Yeah, Rebirth and I have this troubled partnership. Everybody that's reborn, how many Cleopatras were reborn? How many, Napoleons were born? Everybody seems to be reborn as someone famous. No one was Joe the plumber in their past life. So I refer to the core teachings in Venerable Master Xing Yun. It says it's our karma that's reborn. The 5 aggregates, and in the first discourse, the Buddha says the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are suffering. That was his summation. He listed all the 8 kinds of suffering, and he said, in short, the 5 aggregates subject to clinging is suffering. So, and other times when the Buddha was teaching, he taught that there was no self, and other times he thought there was a self. So people would say, well, didn't you sort of remember what you said last time? He said it depends. If you have no sense of accountability, if you speed and you tell the police officer, well, I only live in the moment, so that was past it doesn't quite work. So the Buddha would say, no, there's a self, like you're accountable for your actions. So just because we're a process, like a river exists. But a river is a process. If you take a river and you put it in a bucket, and you point at it and you say, there, I've captured the river. We have the common sense to say, no, you have not. A river only exists as a process. So we are our five skandhas. We are our consciousness, our mental objects, our perception, our sensation, and combination of external and internal sense organs as forms. But that's only momentary. So the whole point with this practice is to alleviate the afflictions, to alleviate the mental impurities, so that when the moment of death comes, we're not constantly clinging to what was only a process to begin with. So the whole subject of soul and rebirth, I think back to a person when we had a discussion about karma. They said, okay, so I'm this thing containing this karma and transferred from life to life. I'm this container. But it's actually karma that is containing our nature. And the process is to remove that karma to be liberated. So I accept the word soul, I accept the word self, but there's a big star beside it.
That's right. And so for this craving for non-existence, for extermination, or not to experience the world, the Dalai Lama puts it very simply by stating that it's a craving for destruction, a wish to be separated from painful feelings. It is a desire for death, a desire to escape pain, to escape suffering, a relief from pain, anxiety, maybe disappointment, despair, negativity. Oh my. But we see it in the news. This poor young girl down east, she committed suicide from bullying. She wanted an escape. We see that. And it's most transparent in suicide. A person with a terminal illness wishes to commit suicide to escape physical pain or suffering. Maybe so that they don't carry the family into it, watch and have to suffer. I see that. They call that altruistic suicide. Want the end. We want it over. Oh, but as a Buddhist, it's just going to come back again. Just joking. When you think about it. Okay. So then looking at the handout, this kind of fits in the very top. Why are you unhappy? Because 99.9% of everything you think and everything you do is for yourself. And there isn't one. You're all looking at me, yeah, right. This is a quote by Wu Wei Wu. You should Google him. He's written quite a bit of stuff. When I found him, I thought, I like this guy. I really like this guy. And at this point, Venerable Man Yi suggested that I mention the Heart Sutra.